Have you ever noticed someone giving you a strange look when you share good news? Or maybe your friend's compliments sound more like subtle jabs rather than genuine praise. The truth is, envy exists, and sometimes it hides in plain sight. Today, I'm going to talk about the signs you might not have noticed, but that clearly indicate jealousy from those around you. Let's be honest. When you achieve new milestones, whether it's buying a house, a car, or landing a great job, not everyone is happy for you. Some people simply can't hide their envy. Today, I'll help you recognize those who secretly resent your rise to success. First, they gossip about you behind your back. One of the clearest signs of jealousy is when people prefer to talk about you to others rather than addressing you directly. Envy thrives on attention and loves an audience. Instead of celebrating your achievements, envious individuals turn your life into the main topic of their conversations. And if you think about it, it's almost a compliment, isn't it? You're simply living your life, and yet you've become the star of their dramatic spectacle without even auditioning for the role. A few years ago, when I received my first major promotion, I noticed a friend started acting strangely. Instead of congratulating me, he made snide remarks like, "They'll hire anyone for that position," or "Luck must have been on your side. It's not that big of a deal." Later, I found out from mutual acquaintances that he had been telling others I got the job only because I was lucky or had connections. The most ironic part? I didn't even realize how much his words stemmed from envy until someone casually brought it up during a group hangout. It was a painful moment. I had considered us close friends, but envy drove him to talk behind my back rather than sincerely celebrate my success. Jealousy is sneaky. It hides behind smiles and only surfaces when you're not around. But remember, if someone is gossiping about you, it doesn't define your worth or achievements. It only reflects their own insecurities. They see in you what they believe is lacking in themselves. If your success is a topic of conversation, take it as a sign. You might just be inspiring them to dream of the things they secretly want for themselves. Don't let their words throw you off course. People will always talk, but true friends will celebrate your achievements. As for the rest, let them enjoy the show. After all, they seem to be watching your life with great interest. Second, they try to make you feel guilty for your achievements. Another telltale sign of jealousy is when someone tries to make you feel guilty for your success. Have you ever heard phrases like, "You just got lucky"? Some of us don't have that kind of luck. These words might sound like jokes, but they're actually disguised jabs meant to make you feel guilty about your achievements. Ironically, achieving something meaningful is already difficult. So why would someone try to diminish your efforts? You worked hard and earned your victories. If someone tries to make you feel selfish for that, remember, their reaction is a reflection of their own insecurities, not your worth. Let me share a personal example. When I finally bought my first car after saving for years, I expected my friends to be happy for me. It was a huge moment. I had put in so much effort. But one old friend who knew how hard I had worked for it just looked at me with disappointment and said, "Must be nice. I'd buy one too, but I have loans to pay." At that moment, my excitement started to fade. I wondered, don't I deserve to feel happy? It took time to realize that the issue wasn't me. My success only exposed his own insecurities, and rather than supporting me, he tried to make me feel guilty. It's painful, especially if you're not expecting it. But the truth is, their feelings don't mean you've done something wrong. If someone tries to make you feel bad about your success, it reflects their internal struggles, not yours. Never let anyone devalue your accomplishments or make you apologize for them. You've earned everything you have, and being proud of that is completely normal. If someone can't be happy for you, they're not truly in your corner. And it's better to realize that sooner rather than later. Life is too short to pretend just to make others comfortable. You deserve to take pride in every moment of your happiness. Third, they copy you. Let's talk about those who start literally copying you. Have you ever noticed someone suddenly adopting your style, even your way of speaking? Of course, imitation can be a form of flattery, but only to a certain extent. When someone mimics every little detail about you, it stops being admiration and becomes unsettling. At that point, they're not just inspired by you, they're desperately trying to be you, and that's not as harmless as it seems. Let me share my story. I once had a co-worker who started copying everything I did. At first, it was harmless. Questions like, "Where did you buy that blazer?" or "I love the way you say that." But then, it got weird. She got the same haircut, wore identical outfits, and even picked up my hobbies. The worst part? She began stealing my ideas at work, presenting them as her own. At first, I laughed it off, but eventually, it felt like she was invading my personal space, erasing my individuality to make it hers. One day, I asked her directly, "Have you noticed how similar we've become?" She just smiled and said, "I just like your style." But I knew it was more than that. She wasn't confident in herself and was using my identity to mask her insecurities. People copy you because they see something in you that they lack. Their imitation is proof of your value and the impact you have on others. If someone is copying you, take it as a compliment. But remember, they will never truly have what you have. They only see the surface. They don't see the hard work, the unique perspective, or the personality that makes your choices yours. Keep being yourself, because you are the original. Fourth, they constantly bring up your past mistakes. Let's be honest, we all have moments we'd rather forget, but people who truly care about you won't keep bringing up your past just to tear you down. Jealous people, on the other hand, seem to have an entire list of your past mistakes, ready to bring them up right when you're shining the brightest. They might say something like, "Oh, remember when you messed up that project? Wow, it's crazy to see you succeed now, considering how badly you failed before." And their intent isn't to remind you to stay humble, it's to shake your confidence. I had a friend who did this constantly. Every time I accomplished something new, he'd immediately remind me of a past failure, like the time I bombed a college project or didn't get a job I applied for. I'll never forget when I finally landed the opportunity I had been working toward for years. Instead of saying, "Congrats," he said, "That's cool and all, but remember when you failed even that small task before?" I was shocked. Instead of acknowledging my success, he tried to pull me back to my past failures, almost as if he was afraid I'd forget where I started. At first, I laughed it off, thinking it was harmless, but over time, I realized this was a pattern. Every time I made progress, he would remind me of who I used to be, rather than who I had become. People who act like this aren't doing it because they care about you. They do it because your growth makes them uncomfortable. Instead of celebrating how far you've come, they cling to the past because they can't handle your successful present. And that, my friend, is pure envy. They hold onto your past mistakes to make themselves feel better. But here's the truth. Growth is about learning from mistakes, not dwelling on them. Real friends will recognize how much you've evolved and be happy for you. If someone keeps bringing up the past, it's only because they're scared of how far you've gone without them. Let them live in the past if they want to, but you've already moved forward. Fifth, they make fun of your dreams. Let's talk about those people who mock your dreams. You know exactly who I mean. You tell them about your big ambitions, and instead of support, they turn it into a joke. "Oh, you want to start a business? Good luck with that. You're going to be a singer. Ha! Maybe I'll come listen if it's free." These aren't harmless jokes. They come from a place of insecurity, because your dreams remind them of the ambitions they abandoned. Hearing that you're chasing something big makes them uncomfortable, so they try to turn your goals into a joke, not because your dreams are ridiculous, but because they don't want to confront their own failures. I experienced this firsthand. When I started talking about my big career goals, working in a creative field and launching my own brand, some friends couldn't resist sarcastic comments. They'd laugh and say things like, "Oh, so you think you'll be famous?" At first I laughed along, pretending it didn't bother me. But deep down it did. I was sharing something deeply personal, and the people I valued were making me feel like my dreams were a joke. But then I realized they weren't laughing at my dreams because they were silly. They were laughing because my ambitions scared them. My goals reminded them of the risks they never took, the ambitions they had let fade away, the chances they could have taken but didn't. People who crush dreams are often the ones who once had them too, but let fear hold them back. So if someone mocks your dreams, remember this. They're not actually laughing at you. They're laughing at themselves. They're stuck on the sidelines while you're out there chasing your goals. And when you finally succeed, they'll be the ones wondering, how did you pull it off? Keep dreaming, keep striving, and never let someone else's laughter turn into the chains that hold you back. Sixth, their jokes cut too deep. Those so-called jokes that hit a little too close to home. You know what I'm talking about. Someone pretends they're just teasing you, but in reality, they're taking a direct shot at you. And when you react, they say, "Relax, I'm just joking." But their jokes aren't actually funny. They're personal, and they target the very things you take pride in. People who secretly envy you love using humor as a weapon. It allows them to hide their jealousy behind sarcasm while still getting their digs in. Let me tell you about a friend who mastered this tactic. When I started getting into fitness and seeing results, he joked, "Oh, look at our little fitness guru over here. Just don't get too obsessed with those selfies." At first, I laughed, but then I noticed that every time I mentioned the gym, he'd sneak in another passive-aggressive jab. Eventually, it became clear his jokes weren't random. They were targeted, designed to make me doubt myself and diminish my progress. That's when I realized something. His jokes had nothing to do with me. They had everything to do with his own struggles. When people make these backhanded jokes, it's usually because they're dealing with their own insecurities. They see you achieving something they want for themselves, but instead of admitting it, they hide their jealousy behind humor. So, next time someone's jokes feel like little stabs, don't take them personally. Confident people don't feel the need to put others down. When someone tries to make light of your success, remember, your achievements will always speak louder than their sarcasm. Seventh, they constantly compete with you. Let's talk about secret competitors, those friends or colleagues who always feel the need to outdo you. You might say something simple like, "I finally cleaned out my closet," and they'll immediately reply, "Oh, I organized mine by color and category." Or maybe you share exciting news about a new job, and they immediately start talking about their last 2 promotions. For them, your success isn't something to celebrate. It's just another opportunity to redirect the spotlight back to themselves. I had a friend who turned everything into a competition. If I mentioned completing a big project, he'd say, "Oh, I'm handling 3 at once." If I picked up a new skill, he'd insist, "I've already mastered that." It got so exhausting that I started avoiding sharing my wins because I knew they'd either be dismissed or overshadowed. Here's the truth. People who constantly compete with you don't actually support you. They're so caught up in comparisons that they can't genuinely appreciate your achievements. The more you succeed, the more threatened they feel, because they see life as a competition where only one person can be on top. But life isn't a race with one winner. There's enough success for everyone. If someone uses your good news as an excuse to boast about themselves, remember, it's their problem, not yours. Let them play their little competition game. You're here to thrive, not to compete in a race you never signed up for. Eighth, they project their insecurities onto you. The most manipulative form of envy? Projection. This happens when someone takes their own fears and doubts and places them onto you. For example, they might say, "Are you sure you're ready for that promotion?" Moving to another city is risky. What if it doesn't work out? Suddenly, you start doubting yourself. But here's the truth. Those doubts aren't yours. They belong to them. I had a friend who always projected his fears onto me. When I talked about starting a business, he listed every possible risk. Eventually, I realized he wasn't worried about me. He was afraid for himself. People project their fears onto you because they're scared to take risks, but their fears have nothing to do with your potential. Your path is yours alone. Never let someone else's doubts become your limits. Envy is a tricky thing. It's a very human emotion that many people experience, but if you don't recognize it, it can seriously drain your energy and confidence. The truth is, if someone is projecting their fears onto you, competing with you, or trying to put you down, it's actually a sign that your light is shining so brightly that they can't ignore it. And yes, that can be uncomfortable, but it's also a huge indicator that you're on the right path. Think about it. If someone is spending so much energy watching your life, talking about it, or trying to one-up you, it says way more about them than it does about you. You've become a living reminder of their unrealized potential, the dreams they were too afraid to chase, and the chances they let slip away. But here's the golden truth. Just because they don't see your vision or believe in your dreams doesn't mean you should stop believing in them. Your belief in yourself and your goals is your compass, and no one has the right to throw you off course. I remember a time in my life when I let other people's opinions shake me. I had friends who constantly made sarcastic remarks about my ambitions. Why are you trying so hard? You're being too ambitious. And for a while, I let their words get to me. I started questioning myself. Am I really asking for too much? But looking back now, I realize those were just people who didn't understand my journey, and that's okay. Not everyone is meant to understand your dreams or share your ambitions. The most important thing is to stay true to yourself. So if there's one thing you take away from this, let it be this: your dreams and ambitions belong to you. Don't let someone else's jealousy or insecurities knock you off your path. People may try to keep you within their comfort zones because they're afraid to step out of them themselves. They may ask difficult questions, criticize your choices, or even laugh at your dreams. But know this, if they're doing that, it's because they've either given up on their own dreams or they're too afraid to take risks. Your journey is your story, and only you get to decide how it's written. So keep going, keep striving, keep believing in yourself, and if others want to project their fears or jealousy onto you, let them. It won't stop you from reaching success, because at the end of the day, those who truly support you will cheer you on, while those who envy you, they'll just watch from the sidelines, wondering how you did it, so go prove them wrong.